Hi. So I'm looking at St. James Infirmary, and I'm just going to say again a couple of things about jazz theory, or really improvisational theory, that it's very important to understand what the terms Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, the most important one, and Mixolydian, and then Aeolian and Locrian. I think I got them all. Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, and Dorian. Aeolian and Locrian. So those are terms that we've probably already talked about, and you should have them written down. And maybe we'll take a look over at the piano before we end. So here we're looking at D minor, A7, D minor, A7. These useful scales over here are meant to help you with forming other verses to this that maybe have a little of the melody or maybe no melody, and so that you can play a song maybe for 2 hours and take one song, or maybe not that long, but maybe for 10 minutes or 8 minutes to play one song. It means that you have less music and it becomes more interesting. Generally in the beginning, I tell people to pick out just that one area of D minor where there's two spaces, two measures, and to build a solo in there, or a little bit of a different melody based on the D blues scale. And that D blues scale is meant to cover that D minor. The other important thing that I want to say is about seventh chord. So you have a seventh chord that appears twice here, 3 times, and a B flat 7th chord. The A 7th chord or the B flat all 7th chords are always the 5th chord of the key they come from. This song is in the key of D minor, but A is not in the key of D minor, and B flat 7 is not in the key of D minor. So if you were building a solo on those chords, you'd still play the chords, but you would use the A Mixolydian, which is the 5th mode, for the A 7th chord. All 7th chords are the 5th chord of the key they come from. So if you look back at the piano, you can see where the 5th chord is. Or if you were to play the B 7th chord, that is a 7th chord again, 5th chord of the key it comes from. So we're going to go back over to the piano and look at some of those ideas. So if we go back to the piano, and I'm going to put my phone here over the piano. In the key of D minor, let's see, the B is flat. D, that's your key of D minor. The B is flat, or it's the relative minor of F. In the key of F, F is Ionian. Right, in the key of F. If A is the 7th chord, is the 5th chord of the key, it's A 7th, it's the 5th chord of the key it comes from, what key does it come from? I look back 5 keys, it's from the key of D. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. The key of D, if you look on your circle of fifths, has 2 sharps. If you go and look at your useful scales, that A Mixolydian mode, or the A Mixolydian scale that they're suggesting you use, comes from the key of D and has 2 sharps in it. And we're also going to look at B flat. The B flat 7th chord, so again we're looking at 7th chords, is the 5th chord of the key it comes from. The 5th chord of the key it comes from, if you go back 5 spaces, might end on E, but you wouldn't have a B flat in the key of E, so it must be E flat. And you do have a B flat in the key of E flat. So that E flat comes from the key of, B flat 7 comes from the key of E flat. The key of E flat has 3 flats. If you check your scale, your circle of fifths, and if you look at the scale they're suggesting for B flat, it has 3 flats. That's the Mixolydian mode from the key. The key is E flat. So if you were on E flat, you went to E flat, with those 3 flats, you'd hear do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. But if you start on B flat, it's going to sound different. And that's an introduction to jazz theory. Bye-bye.